Welcome to the blackawakening.com. I'm your host, spiritual practitioner 322 Peppy Black Sun. Today we're going to examine two videos. The first video is about the Shanquella Robinson. It's an update. The second is a disturbing video. We had 6 young black men taunting a young black female, calling all kind of derogatory names, and then throwing her in the dumpster like trash. So what would be in the mindset of these young black men today? Would it be the cause for this hatred for themselves and for young black females? Let's examine this.
Glad you're staying with us today. Well, Mexican police have issued an arrest warrant in the death of that American tourist, Shanquella Robinson. Investigators say they believe the 25-year-old was killed by an acquaintance.
And now there are new questions about how justice will work across the border here. Matt Rivers has more from Mexico City.
Mexican authorities say they believe 25-year-old U.S. citizen Shanquella Robinson was killed by an acquaintance, another American woman, while on vacation in Los Cabos. Robinson was found dead at a luxury resort in late October, traveling with a group of friends whose actions immediately became suspicious. In one now viral video, too violent to show, Robinson is seen being severely beaten by another woman in her hotel room, while at least 2 people in the room watch or record the incident. In another, someone films Robinson taking a nap the day before she was killed. A police report from the day she died says guests at the resort called for medical help, claiming she had drunk a lot of alcohol. A doctor said she was, quote, stable but dehydrated, adding that the guests refused to bring her to a hospital. The police report said she went into cardiac arrest and was declared dead at 6 p.m. But an autopsy obtained by ABC News contradicted that report, saying she was declared dead 3 hours earlier, suffering from a severe spinal cord injury and a dislocated neck.
They attacked her and there was nothing she could do, and all she could say is no. She wasn't a fighter, no way. She has a good heart.
Mexican authorities now saying the prime suspect in the case back in the United States.
The fact that the person accused is an American citizen fundamentally changes all of the evaluation here.
Mexican prosecutors filing charges for femicide, which means they believe Robinson was killed at least in part because of her gender. Mexico is asking the U.S. to extradite the suspect to face charges in Mexico. The Department of Justice will have to evaluate any evidence.
If the U.S. authorities and potentially a U.S. court are not convinced that the Mexicans have a very strong case, then it's very unlikely that she would be extradited.
Now, U.S. authorities could also choose to prosecute this case themselves, and we know the FBI is already investigating. But I spoke to one former U.S. diplomat based here in Mexico who tells me that it's all about whether the Mexican government will cooperate here. Will they turn over their case files? Will they allow the FBI the access they need to properly investigate? Those remain open questions at this point. Kira?
All right, Matt Rivers, thanks so much.
And so for more on this intriguing case, let's bring in former NYPD Chief of Detectives and ABC News contributor Robert Boyce, as well as ABC News contributor, managing partner of the Cochran Law Firm, Shauna Lloyd. So, Shauna, let me begin with you on this question of extradition. If, in fact, the suspect is developed, the big question now is how would that process work from the U.S. to Mexico? How much we see the movies, people run across the border, but how effective is the extradition process in achieving justice for a suspect who's in Mexico?
Well, it's interesting because we do have a treaty that says that there can be extradition when persons are found to have committed a crime. Now, this one's interesting because we have an actual U.S. citizen who's accused of the crime who is still in the U.S. Mexico actually has to submit a request to have this individual arrested and then extradited. It is evaluated by the State Department and the Department of Justice Criminal Investigations International Affairs Office. Once they have found that the legal findings are sufficient to rise to the level of criminality, it's then forwarded to a district judge to issue that arrest warrant, and then a hearing is had. At that hearing, all the evidence is produced from what the Mexico authorities have gathered, and there's a determination if there's enough legally sufficient information in this investigation to determine charges that would support extradition.
So, Shauna, could we see Mexico engage in the prosecution regardless of whether the suspect is extradited or not?
Absolutely, because the U.S. can actually seek to bring charges against this suspect currently. Mexico has to support the investigation by providing all of the information, the evidence, and all of their case files that they currently have, because that's what the U.S. would be making any determination based on.
And Bob, this investigation across an international border is going to be complicated. How much cooperation would the United States get from authorities, police investigators in Mexico? Does that work smoothly most of the time?
It does, but it depends on the issue. And the issue here is you have a big problem in the timelines going forward. You have medical reports where they call at 2:15 for help, they leave, and then they come back, and then she's declared dead at 6 o'clock. That's not indicated on the coroner's report. There's some big problems they have to work through before anything of this goes forward. Also, we don't know what happened before that terrible video, that assault, or afterwards, or what time that was. There's so many questions here. It's going to take a while to hash out, but I think it will get done in the end. Just what Shanna said before. If not, the FBI will prosecute those persons here in the U.S. if they can't get anything from Mexico that they need.
So then, Bob, did Mexican investigators drop the ball here in the initial stages of the investigation?
I can't say that without that information, but I tell you one thing, they don't seem to be coordinated with what the reports are coming out of there. The prosecutor, Mr. Anela, said basically they have a clarified case. I don't see how that's possible with these changes. Clearly, this thing changed 2 weeks after the event with the video going viral like that. It changed everything. And now here we have the Mexican authorities with an arrest warrant for a U.S. citizen. So things are really ratcheting up here. But I think it's going to be a long time before that family, the Robinson family, have the answers they want. But I think it's going to happen. It's just take a while.
Yeah, that's the point, Bob. It does look like now that there's so much attention on this, almost makes it more difficult. And I wonder about the Robinson family. Shauna, what recourse does the family, this young woman, cut down, killed in the prime of her life, what recourse do they have while these wheels of justice in two different countries grind away?
Unfortunately, they don't have a lot of influence on the system. Victims are typically, and their families are assigned a victim advocate to walk them through the process. But this process is strictly between our State Department, the FBI, and the Mexican government right now. They don't have as much influence to push. Now, they can always, want to encourage them to keep investigating, but they don't have any authority right now for the family.
Yeah, it's such a disturbing case in so many ways. And Shauna Lloyd, Robert Boyce, thanks very much, as always, for being with us.
Are you ready for blow him a kiss? Put it on him. Oh, what the fuck? She got in the dark room. They put her in the dark room. They put her in the dark room.
What will be the source of this mental and spiritual wickedness in our people? That they have no regard, no respect, no love for their sister, that these young black men would disrespect this beautiful black queen in such fashion. What is the source? Understanding everything has an origin and a beginning. Let's get to the beginning. Every thought and every emotion that enters our mind has a metaphysical vibrational frequency. Understanding we are spiritual beings having a human life experience. These metaphysical frequencies facilitate and dictate the thoughts and actions of people. Now let's examine the metaphysical emotional vibrational frequency chart. Just like the body, from shame, the lower vibrational frequency of 20 hertz, to the belt line, which is neutrality, 250 hertz, to enlightenment, which is 700 hertz. And understanding these frequencies can enter the mind, can influence your words, and can manifest in your actions. So one must be very cognizant of these frequencies that manifest within the spirit. Now, understanding when you are vibrating in good frequencies, such as joy, which is resonating at 540 hertz, to love, which is resonating at 500 hertz. Unlike love, you have anger, which is resonating at a lower frequency of 150 hertz. That leads to desire, which is resonating at 125 hertz, and which is the leading cause for criminal mentality today in our society. So in understanding there are influences that put you in these lower frequencies. What are these influences?
We have been had again.
Damn.
We've been bamboozled.
Hoodwinked.
Let us stay, I tell you.
All the Malcolm X words.
Once again, you know what I'm saying? Now, a few of y'all might have already heard about this, about how the music industry has very close ties with the private prison system.
Yeah.
And the reason being is because the music business has invested millions of dollars in the private prison system.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You heard it correctly. Again, the music business and the entertainment business in general, meaning people who control the media, the music industry, and also
publication,
private prisons.
Yeah, magazines, all that.
Somebody somebody sent me an article, like I think it was like 6 or 7 years ago.
Right.
And I read this article, bro, and I was like absolutely shocked, very shocked.
Talk to us.
In fact, I want to read this letter. This article, but it's actually a letter that was written by somebody that was a decision maker at a major label.
Shot caller.
And he said, you know, he was invited to a very special meeting about the future of hip hop back in 1991.
Okay.
So here's what he said. This is how the events went down at the meeting.
Break it down, man.
Okay, just ride with me, okay? Because I'm reading this. This is real. Hold on, wait. Let me try to.
Way out article too, man. You know what I'm saying? When he told me on telephone about this, wait till y'all hear this, G. You know what I'm saying? It's mesmerizing how these people do. You know what I'm saying? The plans that they got for how far they will go. You know what I'm saying? To make people, you know, actually slip in society. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so it says, and the title of the letter is "The Secret Meeting That Changed Rap Music and Destroyed a Generation."
Damn.
So it says, hello. After more than 20 years, I finally decided to tell the world what I witnessed in 1991, which I believe was one of the biggest turning points in popular music and ultimately American society. I have struggled for a long time weighing the pros and cons of making my story public, as I was reluctant to implicate the individuals who were present that day. So I've simply decided to leave out the names and all the details that may risk my personal well-being and that of those who were, like me, dragged into something they weren't ready for.
Damn.
Hold on, let me
So we gonna tell the story.
We gonna tell the story. We ain't scared.
You know what I'm saying? What they gonna do?
They after us, not just playing.
Look, that black van.
So look. So he says, between the late 80s and early 90s, I was what you may call a decision maker with one of the more established companies in the music industry. I came to Europe in the early 80s and quickly established myself in the business. The industry was different back then, since technology and media weren't accessible to people like that, like they are today. The industry had more control over the public and had the means to influence them any way it wanted.
Right.
This may explain why in early 1991, I was invited to attend a closed-door meeting with a small group of business insiders to discuss rap music's new direction. Rap music's new direction.
Yeah.
Little did I know we would be asked to participate in one of the most unethical and destructive business practices ever seen.
Crazy.
So this was the meeting. The meeting was held at a private residence on the outskirts of Los Angeles. I remember about 25 to 30 people were being there.
Right.
Most of them familiar faces. Speaking of those I knew, we joked about the theme of the meeting, as many of us did not care for rap and failed to see the purpose of being invited to a private meeting to discuss the future of hip-hop.
Talk to him.
Among the attendees was a small group of unfamiliar faces who stayed to themselves and made no attempt to socialize beyond their circle. Based on their behavior and formal appearances, they didn't seem to be from our industry. Our casual chatter was interrupted when we were asked to sign the confidentiality agreement, preventing us from publicly discussing the information presented during the meeting. Needless to say, this intrigued, in some cases, disturbed many of us. The agreement was only a page long, but very clear on matters and consequences, which stated that violating the terms would result in job termination immediately. We asked several people what this meeting was about and the reason for such secrecy, but could not find anyone who had the answers for us. A few people refused to sign and walked out. Nobody stopped them. I was tempted to follow, but curiosity got the best of me.
That's right.
A man who was part of the unfamiliar group collected all the agreements from us. So now it's going to get to the good part because the meeting about to start.
Talk to him, G.
It says, quickly after the meeting began, hold on one second.
Get your popcorn, y'all.
Popcorn, get your pistols. No,
for real though.
Quickly after this meeting began, one of the industry colleagues, who shall remain nameless like everybody else, thanked us for attending. He then gave the floor to a man who only introduced himself by first name and gave no other details about his personal background. I think he was the owner of the residence, but that was never confirmed. He briefly praised all of us for the success we had achieved in our industries and congratulated us for being selected as part of this small group of decision makers. At this point, I began to feel slightly uncomfortable in the strangeness of this gathering. The subject quickly changed as the speaker went on to tell us that the respective companies we represented had invested in a very profitable industry, which could become even more rewarding with our active involvement.
Damn.
He explained that the companies we worked for had invested millions into the building of privately owned prisons, and that our positions of influence in the music industry would actually impact the profitability of these investments. Then he says, I remember many of us in the group immediately looking at each other in awe and confusion. At the same time, I didn't know what a private prison was, but I wasn't the only one. Sure enough, someone asked what these prisons were and what any of this had to do with music. We were told that these prisons were built by privately owned companies who received funding from the government based on the number of inmates. The more inmates, the more the government would pay these prisons. It was also made clear to us that since these prisons are privately owned, as they become publicly traded, we'd be able to buy shares. Most of us were taken back by this. Again, a couple of people asked what this had to do with us. At this point, my industry colleague who had first opened the meeting took the floor again and answered our questions. He told us that since our employees had become silent investors in this prison business, it was now in their interest to make sure that these prisons remain filled. Our job would be to help make this happen by making music which promote criminal behavior, rap being the music of choice. He assured us that this would be a great situation for us because rap music was becoming an increasingly profitable market for our companies, and as employees, we'd also be able to buy stocks in these prisons. Immediately, silence came over the room. You could have heard a pin drop. I remember looking around to make sure I wasn't dreaming and saw half of the people with dropped jaws. My daze was interrupted when someone shouted, "Is this a fucking joke?" At this point, things became chaotic.
Right.
Two of the men who were part of the unfamiliar group grabbed the man who shouted and attempted to remove him from the house. A few of us, myself included, tried to intervene. One of them pulled out a gun, and we all backed off. They separated us from the crowd, and all four of us was escorted outside. My industry colleague who opened up the meeting earlier hurried out to meet us and reminded us that we had signed an agreement and would suffer the consequences of speaking out about this publicly, or even those who attended the meeting.
Damn.
I asked him why was he involved with something so corrupt, and he replied, it's bigger than the music business and nothing we can do. And, no, it's bigger than the music business and nothing we want to challenge without risking consequences. We all protested as we walked back into the house. I remember word for word the last thing he said. It's out of my hands now. Just remember you signed an agreement. He then closed the door behind him. The men rushed us to our car and actually waited until we drove off the property.
Damn.
So this meeting, bro.
Now that's a lot for a meeting right there.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, and this person later on, he said, you know, this person actually ended up leaving the music industry after this happened. A few years after this, he ended up leaving the music industry.
Okay.
And he said he just, like, you know, over the years he just felt guilty, because he said as he sat back and he watched these plans come to a reality
over 2 decades,
he sat back and was like, wow, they really pulled it off.
Yeah.
They really pulled this off. He was like, they were told not to sign any more political rappers, any more rappers that had messages in their music.
No positivity.
It was all to be gangster rap music that they promoted and put out.
So if you wonder where Brand Nubians went, where Pro Righteous Teachers went, where Public Enemy went, where KRS-One went, and all sorts of groups like that was talking, even Queen Latifah and Moni Love and those, you know,
everybody.
What I'm saying? It's a back door.
Yeah, anything that was harmless, fun rap, you know, anything that had a message in it had to go.
Yeah, that's why if you even notice though,
we talk about that all the time.
Even be brief with it, you know what I'm saying? Those charms that came out like maybe in 1988, 89, the African charms, those they lasted for about 2 years and they disappeared real quick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. Now, after reading all this, you know, it actually made me feel a few different ways. The first emotion I felt was shocked, because I was definitely taken back by this, just knowing the level of evil that's involved by even thinking of a plan like this. You know what I'm saying? The second emotion I felt was anger. Anger because it's not enough for them to exploit our culture and make all the money off of it. Because let's keep it real, the industry has never been favorable towards the artists. Never. But they're going to go beyond the artists to get the artist to influence and lure in the consumer, which they knew at the time were mainly minorities.
Yep.
In other words, keep promoting gangster rap so that the youngsters will be influenced by them, which in turn will incite them to want to act like them, and it's a very good chance they'll end up in their prison.
Yeah.
So they're getting paid twice. They're getting paid from the artists they signing, and then they're getting paid from the people that these artists influence that goes to prison trying to be like these artists.
Yeah.
So they making a killing.
A killing.
They're using the music business to promote their private prison business.
My man is right there talking that right. 1988, a man named Tom Beasley, man. That's the co-founder of the Corrections for Corporation of America. That's the CCA. You know what I'm saying? Excuse my French. I'm reading this thing right there real quick. It's the CCA. So in 1988, he founded that, and this is in straight concert with the same thing. So it's like the music business. You do what you do on your side, and over here with the correction facilities, we're gonna do on this side, because and now in 1970 there was 500 prisons. You know what I'm saying? Only 500 prisons in the United States. To this day, there's 1,700 prisons right now. That means big business. I'm talking about that done flippled over. You know what I'm saying? If flippled over is a word. Because they're making a lot of money off of these things per inmate. You know what I'm saying? So getting with the same thing of the music, it all went hand in hand, and we just partying at the same time.
So us as the artists is the tool they use.
Yeah.
The music is the bait. Yep. And the young consumers are the prey. It's a cold game.
Cold game, bro.
Cold game. Then I felt sad. Sad because everything we seem to try to create we always seem to give it away. We're always being tricked and deceived into believing that they have our best interests at hand when clearly they never have and they never will. They never will have our best interests at hand. It's blow after blow after blow after blow. And they can't even get up.
Yeah.
They always find some kind of way to scheme, take, and just make sure we stay in our prospective places.
Even look how they flip it even right now. Like right now what we saying to a young dude that's a young rapper, he would the way it's set up, it would look for him to hate us because it's like, what you trying to stop my business for of making the money? You know what I'm saying? An underprivileged dude that never had nothing and he trying to get some snaps, but he just doing this thing off of ignorance and they know that. So it's dudes like us that be trying to say something like this, and they'll have the rapper dude looking at us like we the fool.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Trying to rain on his parade. When we ain't trying to do nothing like that. We trying to tell y'all, look here. They making $1.7 billion a year on this private prison system. Out of the 2.2 million people that's incarcerated, you know what I'm saying, in the United States, and by the way, United States got more people incarcerated than anybody in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Out of those 2.2 million, 20%, you know what I'm saying? That's us here. They got us caged up.
Man, you know, some of these things we've known just by being eyewitnesses, you know, from the decline, like we just talking about, from the decline of politically conscious rappers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or anything positive just don't sell these days, and they're the reason. It's not because the music is not good or these artists done get too old or they done all of a sudden forgot how to rap.
Yeah.
You know, it's because they want to push their agenda again. You know what I'm saying? It goes back to that agenda. They want to push their agenda. We mention it all the time. And the reason they're trying to keep it a young man's game, as they say, is because they want to manipulate the young artists.
Right.
Give them money, keep them quiet. Whereas the older generation, you know, we used to be like that, but the difference is we've grown up, we've gotten wise.
Yep.
We've studied, you know what I'm saying? And we're not going for that old bullshit y'all used to tell us, you know what I'm saying? You know, and we not thinking young like how we used to think, you know, like Notorious and just belling without a purpose. No, we stopping and we thinking now. But see, that's a problem because that doesn't sell. So you're now officially washed up, but not really. But in their eyes, you are because you're not pushing their agenda.
Exactly, bro.
That's exactly.
The keys to living in a positive energy frequency. Don't accept negative energy. Give and receive positive energy. Remove the negativity from your energy field. This is how you elevate your energy field. Also, by going out into nature. Nature elevates your vibrational frequency. When you go and connect with the earth, the plants, and the animals, when you connect with your families and friends, being grateful puts you in a higher frequency. Being around positive people that share the same energy field, being around your kids and children. In conclusion, be more cognizant of who and what kind of energy you allow into your life. Okay? Get the negativity out your life. Speak positivity into your life. Because the purpose of life is to live life with purpose. Okay? Stay vigilant in these streets. Practice self-preservation. Okay? So I'm going to leave you in the manner in which I came, with a universal prayer. In the name of the universal creator of heaven and earth and everything in between. Please bless my listeners, their families, their friends, and your true believers for when the day of reckoning takes place. For universal creator, you are all wise and all knowing. And unto you we most certainly shall return. But until then, we give you the praise and glory that's due to you from this life into the hereafter. In the name of the universal creator of heaven and earth and everything in between, in your name we pray that this shall be done. So again, practice self-preservation. Stay vigilant in these streets. Okay? Reach one, teach one. Peace, and take care.